Hello, I'm Martin Fencka and welcome to the first episode of my first Age of Wonders 4 series. I know that I'm starting the series a little bit later than I promised, but unfortunately I didn't have the pre-release access to the game, so after the release I only had a few days to learn the basics. And I have to say that even though I played the game basically non-stop for last 4 or 5 days, there's still a lot that I don't know about the game, or maybe I should say there are quite a few things that I don't know enough about, because I'm pretty sure that I am aware of all of the mechanics that are in game. It's just I don't understand everything quite in depth enough. So I tried to approach the setup for this series with that in mind, and there are some other things that I was considering as I was setting up this game. For example, how tutorial I want this series to be, because this is the first episode of a new series and a new game after all. But at the same time, there's already so much content on YouTube, all kinds of guides. So I don't want this series to be like a complete beginner guide where we would spend the first 2 episodes just explaining all of the basic mechanics. But at the same time, I don't want to approach this as if everybody who's going to be watching already knows everything about the game. So it's going to be somewhere in between, and I'll try to at least briefly explain everything that's going on, but I'm definitely not going to be explaining all of the basic mechanics in detail. And to be honest, they're not that difficult to understand. It's more about getting the maximum out of everything. That takes a while rather than just understanding the basics. Another thing is, as I said, I don't quite understand all of the mechanics quite in depth enough. So I want this series to also give me the opportunity to keep learning. I understand how to build a city, I understand how to expand my territory, but what I want to focus on are things like, is it better to initially focus on food or on gold, on production? When do you want to expand? How much do you want to expand into, want to invest into expansion rather than, or compared to how much you want to invest into your army? When do you want to start investing into your army heavily? All that kind of stuff. That's something that heavily affects how successful you're going to be in the game, and those are things that I still need to explore more in depth and that I need to learn more about. So this is going to be, or this series is going to be heavily focused on such things. And last thing, I didn't want this game to be just like a game of mathematics, where we would only consider, okay, if I add this much food, the town is going to grow 1 turn faster, and we will just be focused on min-maxing everything based on the numbers. I want to give this game some kind of a story, because this is a great fantasy game. The settings are amazing, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So, as I said, I wanted to add a little bit of an RP element, some story to the setup. So hopefully I succeeded with the settings that I decided to go for. Okay, so let's jump into the game, and here we're gonna talk about the setup that I decided to go with. I created my own realm for that. We will go through the settings. It's called Divided Wildlands, and here we are coming to the setup. So imagine like a Borderlands of the known world, a territory or like a wildland territory full of unused natural resources, a wilderness full teeming with dangerous wildlife and unknown dangers, and we will be a group of settlers that are trying to colonize this land. With these settings, it's already probably quite obvious that the series is going to be focused on the development of our cities, development of our territory, settling new cities. It won't be that focused that much on like a diplomacy or magic, the kind of stuff. Those are things that I would like to slowly add as we are doing more and more series, and I would always like to take like one large part of the game and focus a series on that. So next time I'm already planning a series heavily focused around magic, where we try to explore all of the details of this aspect of the game. After that, we'll try to game like about diplomacy, for example, where we're gonna put as many saves or other factions, let's say, on the map, and we try to play a game that's more dependent on how you can use the AIs against each other, rather than a game that's focused on like settling like large parts of the map that are basically like uncontested by others. Okay, so Divided Wildlands, that's where we are going. We select the map, and here we can check the setup. So let's go into advanced settings. There are so many options that you have when it comes to creating of the map. So first, there we set like geography traits. Here I decided to go with, is it here? I guess since I already picked my option, it's not here anymore. It's a divide, so a land-dominated realm, excuse me, divided in two by an ocean. This realm consists of two massive land masses separated by an ocean. Then we have climate trait. I decided to go with overgrown realm because I think that that's the option that fits the best to the idea that I had for this playthrough. A realm where plant life flourishes nearly everywhere. Forest province features are common. Desert and Arctic provinces are rare. Desolate provinces are absent. Then we have inhabitants trait. As you can see, there are so many options for like all of these. Every single like setting, there are so many options that you have every time. So the customizing the options that you have for that is huge. Wildlands. Wild animals are common on this realm, replacing all other infestations and ancient wonders. Animal units are common. Animal infestations are common. Constructed ancient wonders such as ziggurats are absent. And then there are even more options, but some of them I decided to skip because there was nothing that really would further develop the map in a way that I want it to be. Here, miscellaneous traits. I decided to add two. Wondrous past. Due to the rich past of this realm, there are many ancient wonders present. So it means this wilderness wasn't always like that. Long ago, there might have been an unknown civilization, long forgotten, and we will be encountering the remains of its wonders. And the last thing, no free cities, because we are exploring a new territory. Made no sense to have free cities there. I want this land to really be a wilderness with no people in it. So I decided to skip free cities completely. And there was also another reason. I did play with free cities for a while. And I have to say that's a mechanic that really could use some work. There is not really that much that you can do with free cities, and my overall feeling about free cities, I have to say, is that most of the time they were just in a way that there was a free city somewhere where I would like to settle myself. It was in the way and was mostly annoying. The interactions that you can have with free cities, there is not really that much. You can either attack them, you can vassalize them, or you can integrate them. And that's basically it. They don't really seem to help you that much, even if you vassalize them. So I don't know. As I said, it's a mechanic that really probably could use some work. But I'm sure that eventually they will add more to free cities. It would be a shame not to develop this mechanic further. Okay, now we are getting to the more personalized settings for me, how I like to play these kinds of games in general. So player distance, we will have some AIs on the map, and I want them to be as far apart as possible, so player distance will be far. But I don't want to have too many players on the map. It should be a wilderness after all. So we will go with 4 players, which is including us. And then turn system, classic turns. That's fine. You can go simultaneous, which is probably better when you are playing a multiplayer. A name Divided Wildlands, and this is just the aesthetics. So I think this one fits best from the options that are currently available. Factions, I want them to be generated randomly. Also, I didn't set up the difficulty. Oh, I need to do that here. So once again, 4, 4, and difficulty, I will go with brutal. That's how I always play. Even if I start the new game, I just set the difficulty to maximum and see what happens. So these are the basic settings, classic turns, yes, and you still need to go back to advanced settings. Factions generated randomly, there we go, very hard difficulty, that's better. Now, gameful. This is probably where my settings are gonna be, or where they're gonna differ the most from most of the other series that you will see on YouTube. I want to go with slow game speed. I use the settings every time in all games, or most of the time, because I just want to have more time to like explore everything. I don't want the early game to be over after 15 turns. I want to spend some time in each part of the game and have time to enjoy it, basically. So we'll go with slow, starting conditions hard, world threat high, as this is as like difficult as it goes. And now victory conditions. I don't want score at all, so I'll disable that one. And allied victory, I will turn that off as well. So we only have 2 victory conditions, either magic or expansion. I was even thinking about turning off magic, but in the end I decided to keep that one on. Don't care about hero settings, and combat we can leave as it is. There is no reason for me to change anything. Okay, we can confirm that. And now about our faction. Here I created a custom one as well. Nothing too crazy, I just wanted the faction to fit the theme. So we're gonna be playing as humans. And we can check the settings. So we are humans that are keen-sighted. Range shots hit more often. Plus 20 accuracy on physical, ranged, and magic attacks. And the other one is a mind trait, which is sneaky, rewards smart positioning in combat, plus 25% damage on flanking attacks. I think this fits quite well, since we are like hunters, rangers. It makes sense that we are pretty good with like crossbows and bows, and sneaky at the same time. I think it fits quite well, and there are actually not that many options that would like fit the theme that I decided to go with, so I think sneaky fits quite well. Industrious, this one I wasn't sure if I wanted to go feudal or industrious, but in the end I decided to go with industrious, and I'm thinking about this more like crafty than industrious. Because we are colonizing new land, we have to be able to like create and build everything from scratch, right? We have to build our houses. We just bring like the tools that will allow us to build or create the equipment, build the houses, as I said. So that's why I decided to go for industrious rather than feudal. I would consider feudal more like farmers, and we are not quite farmers. We are settlers, we are explorers. So I think as long as we are considered this as being crafty, it fits a little bit better. Society traits. Here we are adept settlers, and Fabled Hunters. Again, two traits that fit best to what we want to go for here. I wanted to limit magic quite a bit here for two reasons. I want the next series to be focused on magic, but also from what I've seen so far, magic is just so strong in this game. Maybe even too strong. I've seen what magic can do in the late game, and it just completely busted. I wanted to intentionally avoid that. Then, Tome of Enchantments. Here, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with like a natural magic, but that fits better to, like, for example, druids or something like that. So I decided against that. Instead, go for Tome of Enchantments, which will allow us to mostly like boost our units. Our main spell that we want to get as soon as possible, or main enchantment, right? We don't really have proper spells. Most of these are enchantments. The most important one is probably going to be Seeker Arrows. That grants our physical ranged attacks +1 range. It's a really, really good boost, and also I think it fits well to the theme that I want to go with. I don't think that these are quite important. Or maybe the Sundering Strikes makes base melee and physical range attacks gain base 60% chance of inflicting Sunder defense. Sunder defense is a stacking debuff on the enemy that reduces his defense and status resistance, and also gives us Demolisher, which allows us to destroy obstacles on the battlefield. So that's our starting magic. Here, the champion, I decided to go with a champion. All cities have 10% gold income and 20 city stability. All non-hero units gain 20% experience. Start with 100 relations with 3 cities, which is completely irrelevant for us. As I said, I didn't want to go, or I didn't want to do a series that too much, or that will be in the end too much about magic. So that's why I didn't go with the Wizard King. Appearance. Reveal yourself. It's not really that important. I kind of like this design. So it basically got like randomly generated. It was the first thing that I got, and I decided to keep it. As I say, it's not that important. And finalizing here, these are just names, and I'm really bad with names, so I just kept whatever the game gave me. Okay. So these are the settings. How do we get out of here? If I go... Do I have to go back one step at a time? I guess it's the safest option, and then just select faction here. There we go. Okay, I hope that the map generation won't take too long, but since we only go with 4 factions, the map shouldn't be like huge, because you can't pick the map size separately. The map size is decided by the amount of factions that are on the map. So if you want a really huge map, you have to go with the maximum amount of AIs and use the setting for the player distance and set it up to far. That will give you the largest map. You can't like go give me a large map with only 2 players. I don't know why that's not an option, but that's how it is. Okay, so here we are. We begin Copperbank. A new ruler emerges. Explore your surrounding and expand your domain. Prepare to face your rivals and become the master of this realm. Your choices will shape the new age of wonders. So this is our tome. We already know that. We know all of these things. Oh, I probably didn't go through our racial traits. So Adept Settlers. They are pioneers and settlers, founding cities wherever they go. We have +1 city cap. Founding cities cost -25% less Imperium. We'll get to what that is in a second. Newly founded cities gain +1 population. Starting bonus, Capital City starts with +1 population. Fabled Hunters. They are legendary hunters excelling in ranged combat and exploration. Gain 100% excuse me, resources from clearing infestations, ancient wonders, and resource nodes. Then ranged units and skirmishers have +1 rank. Let me quickly grab a drink. It was a lot of talking. And on top of that, we are starting with an extra ranged unit. There is one thing that I didn't mention that comes with Industriers. Oh, come on. Here, Scout Prospecting. When Industrious Scout units stand within a friendly or neutral province that contains a cliff, mountain, or stalagmite, the player that owns the Scout unit can prospect the province for production or gold rewards. Each province can only be prospected once. This is a really powerful ability, especially in the early game, but I kind of like it because, again, it fits the theme that I decided to go with, that we can like live off of a land, that we can take the resources that the land offers us and take advantage of it. But it is kind of broken for especially early game. Later it falls off pretty quickly, but early it helps a lot. Okay, so that's the basics, and now the magic that we are starting with. We can summon a copper golem that we probably won't use at all, because these summoned units, like magical units, their upkeep requires mana, and we won't really focus on mana that much, so I don't want to like waste all of my mana income on an upkeep of like 1 or 2 units. Then we have a bolstering chant, which is a healing spell and also a spell that boosts defense. As you can see, target friendly unit heals 20 temporary hit points and gains 2 bolstered defense. The bolstered defense, we don't have to talk about that for now, but healing, that's something that probably I should mention here, how it works like 90% of the time in the game. Here, when a unit loses hit points and you heal it, you only give it temporary hit points that disappear after combat ends. And if you want to heal it properly, you have to do it on the world map by like giving it enough time to like regenerate naturally. The regeneration rate is decided mostly by where you are. Like outside of friendly territory, you heal slower than inside of friendly territory. And this is a mechanic that's really important for like the pace of the game, because if you want to keep fighting, if you want to keep snowballing, you have to make sure that you don't take too much damage, because it does take time to heal. You can't just spam healing spells in combat and basically ignore damage. Taking damage does have consequences. One important mechanic to understand or to know about if you want to like maintain momentum, let's say. So here we are, this is our starting city. We have 1 scout, we have our hero with some units, but I think we will get to the second. So here briefly, let's just talk about all that we can see on the screen. We have knowledge, basically research points. Here we got 3 options that are taken from the Tome of Magic that we decided to start with, and we got lucky, well, we are choosing 3 options out of 5, so it's not that unlikely that we would get Seeker Arrows as our first option, and we choose 1 to research. Each of these spells and abilities has a certain research cost. So you can see we have 60 points. This one costs 360, so it's going to take us 6 turns to research. Pretty simple. And as I said, these Seeker Arrows are the most important buff that we want to get as soon as possible. So that's what we're going to start with. Then we have Imperium. Imperium is an unusual resource used for acquiring cities, spending and speeding up empire development and negotiations. So it's like a currency that you can spend either on development and growth or on diplomacy for both city-states and diplomatic actions with like the other AIs. The most important, it's very difficult to like increase the empire or imperium income. There are not that many ways how you can improve it. This is probably the resource that you have to be most, that you have to plan the most how you're gonna spend it. I would say that the most important thing about Imperium here is that it can buy you time. What I'm talking about is that you can spend Imperium to buy population. And when you, the more population you have, the more provinces you can annex, and the more yields then your city has, the faster it grows. So I have to consider where and when you want to spend Imperium. We will get the details as we start working on our city. But I'm just saying here that Imperium is maybe the most important resource, or the resource that is most tricky. Then we have Whispering Stone, which is something that you only use on the free cities. We are not going to be using this. But if you think about like Lords of the Rings, the crystal ball that Saruman had that was given to him by Sauron, that's something like that, and allows you to faster develop your relations with free cities. This is our city limit, so we can go to up to 4 cities without any penalties. You can go over the cap, but if you do that, you will suffer some pretty significant penalties. So you most of the time don't want to do that, but you can increase the city limit if you want to do it. Then we have gold and mana. Gold, not much to say about that. You need gold to build, to like start the production of buildings, and you can use it to speed up the production. And the same with units. If you want to start training of a unit, you have to pay a certain amount of money. And if you want to speed up the production, you can pay more and save some time. Mana, you're using mana for spells and some buildings. We won't really need mana that much, but if you are playing like a caster-focused or magic-focused game, this can become a limiting factor very quickly. Last thing, we have world map casting points. So this basically tells you how many spells and how strong spells you can cast on the world map every turn. Because each spell has its mana cost that spends mana, this resource, but it also has its like casting point cost. So for example, if you have a spell that deals damage to units on the world map, and it costs 50 mana and 15, just giving an example, ignore the exact numbers, and it costs 15 casting points, you can cast it twice per turn. Once you cast it for the second time, you spend all of your map casting points that you have for the turn, and you are done. You can increase this, of course, but this is what gives you limitations to how many spells every turn you can cast. Usually mana late in the game, you have almost an infinite amount if you focus on like mana income development. So this is the stat that's more limiting. You can increase it, but it will always prevent you from like casting infinite amount of spells every turn. What else is there? Here we have affinity, but I think we're gonna talk about it next turn because it's not opened yet. And I guess that's it really. Now we're gonna have a quick look on our starting city. So each city has some production, let's say, or production, some yields. First, you have food that determines how quickly your city gains population, and with each population, you can annex one province. So you want your city to grow as fast as possible so that you can annex as many provinces as possible, because each province further increases specific yields. Then you have production. Production is something that determines how quickly you can build buildings. Specifically, it has nothing to do with unit training, because units have their own type of production, let's say. It's called draft. And this determines how quickly you can recruit units. Each unit and each building has like predetermined cost, and when you get enough points, it's finished. Pretty simple. And as I already mentioned, when you want to start either a building or a unit, you have to pay a certain amount of gold. And after you do that, you can speed things up. Here you will have option higher production, and you can pay even more gold to like finish the project immediately. You can only finish one project per turn, so you can start a new unit, finish it immediately, queue up another one, but the other one can't be sped up anymore. Then we have gold. I already talked about that. Mana, research, Imperium, we talked about those. And their population, we are currently at 2 population, and as I said, you can spend Imperium to speed up the growth. And this is one of the things that I would like to explore a little bit more, because Imperium is quite a limited resource. So how much Imperium you really want to spend on growth, how aggressive you can be with growth and with growth boost without like limiting your options, for example, for expansion, because founding new city costs Imperium, quite a lot of Imperium. So you have to plan ahead how much you can spend here to still be able to expand. And there are some other things like that I would like to explore, and I would like to find the optimal balance in between. And that's basically it. I think these are the basics that I wanted to talk about, and really isn't much more. Now it's just about how much we can squeeze out these mechanics. So let's start by buildings, I think. And what I want to do, I would like to focus on growth first. There are basically 3, for us at least, there are 3 options that we want to consider. Do we want to focus on food? Do we want to focus on production? Or do we want to focus on gold? We can kind of ignore mana, we won't need that much, and I will kind of neglect research as well, because research mostly gives you access to like better magic, and that's not what I want to go with. We will eventually get there, but that's not what I want to focus on early. Yeah, I think I want to go with food. I would like to grow as quickly as possible, both tall and wide. And each building can be boosted if you have access to the appropriate province improvement. So here you can see we can boost the production of workers' farmstead by having one forester. Forester is a province improvement. It's these things, forester, and these province improvements further improve the yields of the city. So as you can see, a forester gives the city +2 food and +3 production, which is not great, but it's also because it's just a forest province with nothing in it. if the provinces have like special features, these yields can be improved quite significantly. For example, this province has sheep, and as you can see, or a pasture, and the province with the pasture gives always +10 food. You don't have to build a farm here to get the extra food. Even if we build a forester here, we will still get the +10 food from the pasture. For example, here we have like a gold mine, or gold as a resource, that gives +10 gold, and even if we build a farm here, we will still get +10 gold from the mine. Or we can just go for a gold mine and get the mine and the gold vein. Okay, so how do we want to do this? I kind of considering starting here and build a forester in a province that at the first glance would maybe fit better, or would be like better as a farm. But it doesn't matter, right? We still get the food, so we'll get 12 food and 3 production. So we want to get as much as possible immediately, like to get the maximum yields right from the start. That's the thing. This province has 2 options. It can either build a farm or it can build a forester. And there are buildings later that will require farms. This province can only build one thing. So do we use it right from the start for that only thing that can do and that we need right now? Or do we go for the extra yields and then lose the option to go for the other thing later? But I think I want as much food as possible right away, so I will build a forester here. And here we have a 30% discount now on the workers' farmstead. So now we queue it up. That's one thing, and then we want to also queue up a unit, because how strong our pioneers are in the early game, because they can prospect provinces. We're gonna queue up a pioneer. So that's as much as we can do with our city. Oh, also, I wanted to zoom out and see where exactly we are on the map. So we are in the corner, which means it's unlikely there is going to be an AI behind us. Or I think it's like impossible for an AI to start behind us. So that's probably the direction that we want to initially explore in. And I want to settle a second city as quickly as possible. So this is an important information for me, in which direction I want to send my hero, because new cities can only be settled by heroes. How does it look like here? You can do like a fog scouting, or I don't know how to call it exactly, but you can see through fog of war partially, so you can see where there are mountains, certain like ancient wonders. We can, for example, see that here is a, like, how is it called, like watchtower building that gives us extra vision when we enter it. And well, the question is, where do we go? We don't want to settle too close to our capital, but we don't have that much room. So I'm deciding, oh, come on, do I want to settle 2 cities in here? Or do I want to settle only 1? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. So if I settle somewhere around here, I would have to expand the borders of the capital mostly in these directions to leave enough provinces for a city that I would settle here. I could settle somewhere in between, which is quite close to the capital, but it's behind like a mountain. Or I could settle, let's say, if I settle here and grab all of this territory with the second city, I could grab this territory with the capital, mostly grow its borders in this direction, and then settle our third city somewhere around here. Hopefully this is not water, but it could be. Can't really see that through the fog of war. Or we could settle the third city somewhere around here. This looks like a good territory for a third city. And then the fourth one, we would decide based on where we find water, because the map has water. We know that. There is the water divide, and I think it is here. So let's send the hero in this direction. I think I might actually settle somewhere around here. Okay. Now let's start actually with the scout. As I said, our scouts have the ability to prospect. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you probably can. Some of these provinces have this like a brown shadow over them, and these are the provinces that we can prospect. That's what we want to focus on as much as possible with our scouts. There might be one thing that we do before that, though. I want to check what we are up against here. I could take out this this neutral army that is protecting, this looks like production materials, but all three of these guys are tier 2 units, and they're actually quite dangerous. What do we have? Yeah, I don't want to do this without access to the third arbalest. So I think I'll pass. Because we don't really have some direct damage spells, we have to be careful early what we are attacking. It's probably gonna take us a few turns before we start fighting. I probably want to wait until we get to the maximum size of this stack, which is 6. And then we're gonna start attacking some of the weaker units. But here we do have the pioneer, so we would be fighting with 5 units. You know what? Actually, no. I want to say let's attack, but there is one ability this Butcher Ogre has that actually changed my mind. Butcher Scout, I think, is this the one? Target enemy unit has a chance of being killed instantly. Yeah, if we get a proc, or if he gets a proc of that successfully, that would suck. I don't want to lose anything. And we don't quite have enough range damage to take the Ogre out before he gets in melee range. Yeah, I will pass. I want to play it safe. We are playing on brutal difficulty after all, so we can't really afford it to waste anything, and I just don't want to throw away even a single unit. Okay, so here we have the option to prospect the province. 69 gold. As you can see, it's a ton of money out of thin air, basically. We can get gold, we can get production, and we can get items for the hero. Each hero has his or her own inventory, where you can equip items. For now, we only have a basic one-handed weapon, a shield, and a mount. But later you can get all kinds of stuff. And heroes can become extremely strong. They also level up, and with each level up you get access to more and more abilities. So that's one important part of the game. You want your heroes to level up as quickly as possible. From what I've learned so far, the first and probably the most important threshold is level 5, where you get access to like your first special ability, which most often will be some kind of summon. You can summon like elementals or animals or undead, and the summons are really important, and it also gives you a unit that you don't mind if it dies. It's just a unit that you have available for one battle. So that's like a throwaway unit that you can use to block like bottlenecks. And it gives you like so much more breathing room during combat that you don't have to be like super careful about losing hit points. It's a unit that you can use as a cannon fodder, and you don't pay for it later by like losing time waiting for healing in between fights. Okay, I won't go here because there is something. Unfortunately, it's protected. This is a fight that we could probably do, though. These are 5 tier 1 units. They can't summon anything. And I would like to boost the farm that we are building, or whatever it's called. This thing, Workers' Farmstead. And this looks like... yeah, production stash. Okay, so we will be fighting after all. This fight should be simple enough. But, well, this is all for the first turn. So much for not making this first episode like a full tutorial. But, well, as I said, I didn't want to start playing without explaining anything. Now we have access to some Imperium that we might actually use. And interestingly enough, the Empire development is not available yet. I thought it's available on turn 2, and it's actually available on turn 3. So let's check our city. We need 45 Imperium to get more population, so we can't use that. But what we can do, we can use 78 gold to boost the Pioneer, and we still have enough to queue up another unit. Now we are down to 68. So we can't do anything else. Boosting the farmstead would cost us 218. And even if we had 218, there would be no point in doing it, because we wouldn't be able to immediately queue up another building. So that's all that we want to do in the city for now. Let's grab the second scout. How does it look like with the mountains, by the way? That will like help me decide where I want to send my scout. So this guy will take care of this, and then go down, which means this guy will go here, here, and then I'm pretty sure this is the water here. So he will confirm if that's the case, go along the coast probably, and waste a lot of time. Not sure if that's what I want to do. So instead, what if I go north first, and then go from here back to here, and then south, so that we spend as much time as possible prospecting in the early game to speed it up as much as possible. So that means you'll start here. What is this? This looks nasty. Yeah, all 3. We don't want to go there yet. Prospect. And we got Wand of Inversion. I don't think I've seen this one before. Removes all negative status effects from the target ally and grants a random positive status effect for each negative one removed. Well, since we don't have anything else, may as well equip it. It's a wand. It's actually not a weapon. It's an item that you have in the bag and pull out whenever you need it. All wands work like that you have them in the bag, and you can have 3 different wands. If you want a weapon, we would have to have a staff. Staff works as a 2-handed weapon, caster weapon. Okay, now we are heading here, right? Oh, hey, this is something that we want to explore as quickly as possible. So there are, let's say, 3 types of monsters in the map. The neutrals, we have seen that. These are just stags of all kinds of monsters that are guarding like mines, resource stashes, all the kind of stuff. They will sit in there until you kill them. They don't move around the map. They just prevent you from getting access to whatever they are guarding right away, or until you kill them. Then you have a second type, and those have this red flag rather than the gray flag. And these are monsters. Imagine the red ones as like barbarian camps in Civilization. You have one group that's guarding like the camp itself. In this case, the camp is called Small Monster Den. And these dens will then regularly spawn other groups that will roam the map. And the more time you give these dens, the more like aggressive these spawns become, and they will eventually even start like to invade your territories and even like destroy province improvements and things like that. So you want to get rid of these dens as early as possible. These dens also have like 3 levels of difficulties. This one, I'm pretty sure, is a bronze difficulty, which is the lowest one. So this one is not that difficult to get rid of. Then you have silver, and then you have gold. And the gold ones, if they spawn close to your cities, can be sometimes almost like game deciding, because those are dens that are like protected by dragons and all the kind of like mythic tier monsters, and the units that they spawn are such a pain in the ass. They don't spawn like dragons, but the spawns from a gold level spawner are of course much stronger than whatever spawns from the bronze level spawner. And as I said, if they are close to your cities, oh my god, all you do the whole time is just desperately defend your territory. They are such a pain in the ass. But we have only a bronze one, so that's good. And if you can kill the guardian of the den and then loot the den, you can get some pretty damn good rewards. So that's another incentive for you to attack these dens, because even from the bronze ones, the loot is great. But well, for now, we are just prospecting. Oh, and by the way, these are a huge threat for your scouts. When they spawn, or when they have like multiple spawns around them, the spawns love to chase your scouts and kill them. I've lost so many scouts to those. Okay, our first fight. We will take damage here, but we should be... Should we be fine? Risky battle? The hero will be able to do this. I definitely want to do this manually. There is a really nice feature in this game that you can do a fight. Automatically, and if you don't like the result, you can then do it, redo it manually. But I won't be using that option because combat is another part of the game that I want to familiarize myself with. So even like the easy battles, I want to do manually to like learn how the AI works. Or how it behaves, rather. Okay, how do we do this? How close do we have to go here? Oh, I'm starting to regret my decision here. I think I'll actually pull back. Yeah, we are missing one unit desperately. Turn around. The direction your units are facing matters here, because you can be flanked. Yeah, the AI is not dumb. I'm afraid that these hogs and crows, or whatever they are, that they will be the biggest problem, because they'll be able to get to our crossbowmen. And I can't really do anything to prevent them from doing so. Well, all that we can do is just let them attack, I guess. Shield wall, and give them the first attack. Poison resisted, good. Oh, you are focusing the hero. That's actually not too bad. Oh, come on, really? I didn't think they would make it this far. Okay, so now I probably should talk a little bit about what our units can do. Now, this is our hero, and these are the abilities that we have. 3 are basic ones. Rotate, shield wall, you can read the description, basically boosts for a turn defenses. Attack, and as you can see, a unit has like 3 actions per turn, these blue pips. You can move, well, it depends on like your overall movement, but certain amount of hexes per action. Then you can, well, it depends on how the action is specified. Here, this is a basic melee attack, and you can, in this case, attack as many times based on how many actions you have. When you are attacking, for example, with the two-handed weapon, you can only attack once per turn, no matter how many actions you have left. So most of the time, with the two-handed weapon, you want to like run in and then attack, spend like 2 actions on movement, and then do an attack. When you have this type of an attack, you actually want to let the AI come to you and then use all of your actions on attack. And then we have the Wand of Intervention. And the Wand of Intervention, this is the one that we found that removes negative effects and replaces them with positive effects, and it costs 1 action to use it. So we can use this and then attack twice. So that's the actions. Also, stats. I didn't talk about that. So each unit has certain stats. Hit points here, maximum is 90. We took 10 damage. So we are at 90 out of 100. You have physical defense. This one, the scaling of this is a little bit tricky because it's not flat. The first point, when you go from 0 to 1, it gives you 10% reduction. Then the second one reduces the damage from 90 to 81. The third one reduces it from 81 to, I think, 72. So each point gives you a little bit less reduction, but it's still worth it stacking the reduction as much as possible, because the more you get, I don't know how to explain it, the higher value you have. like the more each percent reduction that you gain means more. How do I explain this? Let's explain it on an extreme example. When you go from 0% reduction to 1% reduction, it doesn't really mean anything. Because instead of taking, let's say, 100 damage, you are taking 99 damage. Not really a difference. But when we take the opposite side of the scale, when you go from 99% reduction to 100% reduction, that 1 point has basically an infinite value because it reduces the damage taken down to 0. So if you go from, let's say, 10 to 11%, that 1% has lower value than when you go from like 91 to 92%. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly, but when I return to how the defense works in this game, the fact that each point of defense gives you seemingly a little bit less percentage-wise doesn't mean it's like less valuable. It is worth it. Scaling defense, you can feel the difference. I'm not explaining this correctly, but what I'm trying to say, don't think about this like that each point of defense is less valuable. Then we have resistance, works the same way as defense, except this is a defense against magic damage. And then we have something that we can't see here. It's a status resistance, which is the defense against things like poison, bleeding, weakness, all of these debuffs, how well we can resist those. Okay, our second unit's Anvil Guard, our defensive unit. It's a shield bearer, so high physical resistance, basically no magic resistance. Has the ability also to shield wall. So the main goal of these guys is to protect whatever is standing behind them, 70 hit points, and as I said, pretty good at resisting physical damage. And then we have our Arbalists, our main damage dealers, no resistances at all, but they can do a lot of damage. They have two abilities. One is shoot, crossbow. This only costs one action, but you can see the difference between this attack that costs one action and can be used once per every action that you have left, and this attack that only can be used once no matter how many actions you have. So even if we have 4 actions, we can't shoot the crossbow 3 times per turn. But then we have the second attack, which is Overdraw Crossbow, which is much stronger, and it also has secondary effects. Cancels defensive mode, removes retaliation attacks, unless the target has the resistance to that, and also it destroys basically cover. You can see that there are like trees and brushes on the map, and if a unit, for example, sits on this tile where there are trees, it's harder to hit with the ranged attack. I think here, because this is a flying unit, the cover doesn't really mean anything. But if there was a unit, land unit, or ground unit, let's say, sitting in cover, the chance to hit would be lower. And if we hit it with the overdraw, we would destroy the trees. So you can use these attacks to remove cover from targets to make it easier to hit for your other ranged units. And what I want to do here, I want to hit these, whatever they're called, with the overdraw to cancel retaliation. And if I remember correctly the mechanics, that should mean that if I move now, I won't take attack of opportunity, because we are standing in zone of control. If you want to move away from zone of control, you take attack of opportunity. But if you cancel retaliation, I think it also cancels the opportunity attack that you would otherwise take when you are leaving zone of control. Yep. Okay, so how many of them did we kill? Quite a few. And that is important. As you can see, each stack has like multiple units in it. And it, like the strength of these stacks is based on how many units there are in it. So if we have 8 spiders here, they attack at full strength. If we kill 4 of them, they will only do half their damage, more or less. It's not exactly like that, but more or less that's how it works. So you don't necessarily have to always completely get rid of the unit. You just want to like weaken it enough and then like finish it later. Like you want to weaken it to a point where it's not a huge threat anymore. Okay, so here we can do 21 damage. I think that's what I'm gonna do here, because we can't really do anything to prevent the damage to our ranged units. The AI is smart enough to like focus on your weak units. So what I'm gonna do, let me think actually. How likely is it that this spider decides to go after the arbalist? I don't think that's super likely. Maybe what I could do is focus on these guys. And weaken them as much as possible. Now our dwarves, or not dwarves, we are humans, but we are kind of small, so often I'll refer to this unit specifically as dwarves. Okay, so that's that, and now, is it worth it using bolstering chant? We've lost, what, 8 hit points. We can cast, when we check the cost of the bolstering chant, it costs us 10 mana, and it costs us 10 like casting points, this resource. And this is not refreshed every turn. This is how many spells we can basically cast in the whole combat. So we only can cast the bolstering chant 3 times in this fight. And I think shielding only 8 hit points here is not good enough. We don't get enough out of it. So I'll end the turn here and pray that the AI basically makes a mistake somewhere. I could have shielded the hero, but I also don't want to do that. It's risky. Yeah, I expected that. Oh, really? They succeeded with the blind? Oh, that's bad. That's really bad. And the spiders are healing. Crap. Okay, so first thing first. You have to get rid of the blind. Oh! Oh, I didn't know that ends my action here. Well, we are so screwed. I messed this one up so bad. Because I can't kill anything here and we're gonna get destroyed by the birds. Well, that's a reload. Yeah, I just made a mistake there. I didn't get my my 5th unit, and I didn't realize how bad our magic actually is. That we don't really get anything out of it. Please ignore this. If I wasn't playing on camera, I would have never done this. But I wanted to just do at least one fight in the first episode, and it was stupid. We're gonna replay what we have done. Oops, not what I wanted, but whatever. I queued up the arbalist. Yeah, we need the 3rd arbalist for that fight. Because the 3rd arbalist wouldn't become blocked. So he would most likely... I would have positioned a little bit differently if I had 3. And also 1 unit would be dead. I didn't have enough damage to get rid of 1 unit there. The 2 units survived and very low hit points. So if one of them would be dead, there wouldn't have enough units to like completely block us. Then I would use the unblocked unit to cancel retaliation of another one that will allow another crossbowman to move, and suddenly I would be able to get out of the box basically they created, and we would be perfectly fine. Can we... How much money do we have? Probably not enough. Well, let's just move them. Okay, so we're gonna do a few things. Get more population. Then, next building that we want to build. That's a good question. I'm thinking about going all in on food. So, to go for Grand Mill next. We should have enough money for it. And that means to boost it, we want a 2nd Forester. Here, the options for Foresters are here only. So, there isn't the Forester that would... give us some extra yields like this one did. So I think I'm gonna grab this one that will give me access to like all these provinces here. Another option would be how fast can we get, let's see, 3 turns to finish this. 7 we actually can do it differently. We can grab a mine to get more gold per turn, and we'll still have time to grab the 2nd Forester before we start building. Before we started building the Grand Mill. Okay, and now we want to spend the money. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. We will try again. Now, when we click... do I have to click on them, or can I just mouse over them? When I... Oh, you have to only mouse over. So when I mouse over the unit, or the enemy here, you can see the red line that's, in this case, in distance of 3 tiles from this pack. And that's a reinforcement range. All my unit that will be within this 3-tile radius will join the fight with this stack. So if I move the crossbowman down here, then I take just the hero, because as you can see, the hero's movement is much higher than the rest of the army. So I don't want to move the whole army back. I only want to move the hero back. And then I attack. You can see that all of the units will join the fight. And this is pretty important, because this is quite common that your hero is the fastest unit in the army. And thanks to this like reinforcement range, you have, or your army, or thanks to the extra movement of your hero, your army has like much better reach every turn. Okay, now it should be much better. You'll still take damage, but we won't get completely destroyed. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking before. That was just horrible what I did there. Also, one thing that I did not mention in the previous fight, because I was too busy dying, there are tiles, like for example this one on the battlefield. Poisonous mushrooms. If you step on this tile, and you don't have to stay there, you can just, it's enough to just go through it, you will get poisoned. Then you have, for example, this tile, Lucky Clovers, which we can actually check the exact effect. Units in this position gain 10% critical hit chance. So that's something you also want to like keep in mind and keep an eye for as you are fighting, if you can take advantage of the terrain. So this is all that we can do for now. And for some reason they're heading in this direction. Okay, so we can probably set up this way. It's not ideal. Maybe I want this guy closer. Let's see if we can hit them next turn. But I think the AI is smart enough to know its distances. Yeah. Again, the white line is how far we can shoot, and the AI knows it, so it stays just outside of the of our range. Okay, I will let them attack first. Let's just make sure we are facing them. I forgot to equip the wand this time, but it's not a big deal. Can this thing get to the crossbowman? It probably can. So what if I moved here? Because I'm not sure they have enough movement to now get to me. I don't think so. Oh. They'll probably go after the dwarves. I will just keep calling them dwarves. Oh, they can get to me? Oh, crap. I really didn't think they would be fast enough. And this is why I want to do all of the fighting manually. I just need to get used to these things. It's so important to like get used to all of these details. Okay, so now they are flanked, and we can use the overdraw. That's gonna be a lot of damage. Also, one thing that I at least achieved by moving a bit further away is that they didn't attack from the low foliage, so they don't have the cover from the foliage. Okay, so now if I move, let's see, how far can I move to still have 100% chance to hit? I can move here. And that should... Oh, it's not gonna kill them? Crap. I was hoping I would get a kill there. And the other crossbowman will be able to attack one of these. %50 from there. 100% from here. Well, I want that kill. And then what we're gonna do? We're gonna do as much damage as possible to the crows, because they will fly over our front line, try to get our crossbows. So I want them to be as weak as possible, so we can finish them off with one shot. And I will this time shield this guy, because there is a chance that the hawks, the crows, and the spiders attack the same unit. So I want it to be as healthy as possible. Okay, that is painful. But they're splitting their attacks. Okay, and it seems that we retreated fast enough, so the AI didn't think this would be worth it. Because of course, the more action points the AI spends on movement, the less... or the fewer attacks than it has. So flying all this way to attack once wasn't worth it for the AI, and it attacked the hero 2 times instead. Which I guess makes sense. Now, please don't miss that attack. Is it 100%? It is. Guess I should have checked the chance to hit first. Okay, that's... Let's do that. We can finish it off. I said finish it off. And with the 3rd kill, finally their morale dropped. So how many hit points do we have? 57. We can take... Are we poisoned? We are bleeding. We are not poisoned, but we are bleeding. I need to shield these guys. Because this is considered healing, but it really is not healing. It's really just a temporary shield, so I will refer to healing more as shielding. Okay, good. Now we should be able to end this. This might be the only fight that we do in the like super early game, because the strength of our army as a whole increases very significantly when we gain the ability to flank the enemy. And with only 5 units, especially when I'm fighting against 5 units, I can't really do that. So we want to get to a point where we have numerical advantage, and even though our units individually most of the time will be weaker than the enemy, we should get the advantage by like getting into the correct positions thanks to our superior numbers and get extra damage from flanks. But that's the first fight. As you can see, the one extra unit was in the end what made the difference. And we want to go... What was the plan? We want to go here. Okay, the crossbowmen will catch up eventually. What was the plan here? Go north, right? This should be, I think, no, it's not unprotected. I thought that the mana might be unprotected there, the mana crystals, but nope. One tile away from being able to prospect again. Well, at least we can prospect here. We got Crusader's Claymore. That's interesting. We managed to find a two-handed weapon really early. So that's a tier 2 weapon, two-handed weapon. You can see its damage here. And that also gives us a charge attack, gains 20% damage per hex traveled up to 3 hexes, and the attack cancels defense mode, removes retaliation. So basically when you attack with this thing, you don't take counterattacks. You only can attack once, but that one attack really hurts. Okay, we definitely take that. And I think we equip that, and because we got access to a two-handed weapon this early, I think that will affect the way how we build our hero. So that's that. And one more thing. We want to equip the wand. It's not an amazing wand most of the time, but it's better than nothing. And with that sword, probably want to get to that small monster there as soon as possible. Did I queue up? No, I didn't queue up another unit. That's gonna be Anvil Guard. Even the name reminds me of dwarves. I just can't help it. Next. I think I'm gonna do one more turn. Then we're gonna make a cut. And we will consider this really just an introduction. Oh, right. Yeah, definitely one more turn because it finally opened up the Empire development window. So we will briefly talk about that as well. And this is where the Empire affinity comes into play. So you can see we have 4 Materium affinity and we have 2 Nature affinity. We open the Empire development. You have like skill trees, let's say, for each affinity. This is Materium, this is Nature, that's the 2 that we have. And then this general one, which is when you add up these 2 numbers, that's the number you get here. And every turn you get this amount of points, about the amount of points that you have is added to the overall amount, and you are slowly progressing towards like the end of this line, and every time you reach a certain threshold you get the option to unlock the corresponding ability. To unlock these abilities you have to pay Imperium, so that's another thing that that you have to consider when you are spending your Imperium. And when we check our options, currently we only unlocked one ability, Military Engineering Outposts, cost 50% gold less to build, take -1 turn to build, and start with the palisade wall structure. Costs 50 Imperium. The investment is not huge, the gain is also not that great because outposts are like overall they are quite cheap, so the discount, while 50% may seem like a lot, it's like 25 gold. But they can be built faster, and having a wall in your outposts, it's not a bad thing, because you don't always turn your outposts into cities. Sometimes you just keep them to basically control territory. So with the wall, they can't be like taken over immediately. As we go on, because this is a Materium affinity, it's mostly focused on production and like empire development. But you can also get like items. Here, 450 Imperium, we can get breastplate of the champion, which is a really nice armor. So there is all kinds of stuff that you can unlock with Imperium. And because we are also nature affinity, we will slowly get access to all of these, which is city development, animal summoning, extra food from farms, and again, all kinds of stuff. Down here, basic seafaring, ability to build, actually to excavate underground, but then also ability to build roads. And here we can increase our city cap for 200 Imperium. And this one actually can be repeated, so you can have much more than 4 in our case. We have 4 because of our racial traits. Most of the time you're starting with 3, but if you invest into the expanded governance multiple times, you can increase your city cap as high as you want if it's worth the Imperium investment to you. And there are 4 more affinities: Order, Astral, Shadow, and Chaos. Yeah, do we want to invest? Because I think we're gonna be building throughout the game quite a few outposts, and I like, especially, not like the gold discount, but the ability to build them in one turn. So I think, to me, it is worth 50 points. The question is, do we want to spend it now? Because we are not settling outposts in next, like, 2 turns. So it's probably better to burn the Imperium on growth. How much money do we have? 162. And we wanted to build a Grand Mill next. So this is the time for us to get the second forest there. Go for the boosted Grand Mill. Here the difference already is noticeable. It's 45 gold difference. And it also gives us a discount, like production-wise, how many production points we need to finish the Grand Mill. So we do that. And let's see what we find. Amulet of Vitality. I'm not a big fan of getting items this early. I would much rather get especially gold this early. 10 maximum hit points. I mean, we are getting nice items, don't get me wrong. But I'd still rather get something that speeds up our development for now. 80 gold, much better. Let's get let's equip the amulet. As you can see, the regeneration is pretty slow when we are not in friendly territory. It's like 5 hit points per turn to each unit that needs healing. When you are inside of friendly territory, I think it's 25 per turn. I'm actually not sure, but it's so much more. If the hero... Basically, if we had a healthy army, I think this fight would be doable. Even though there is the vampire spider matriarch. But again, maybe I'm too greedy. The ability to spawn more units. It's really powerful when you can get more units on the map during the fight. Yeah, I really should wait until we have a little bit more. 137, so I could boost the Anvil Guard, but then I won't be able to queue up another unit. But I think in this case, I am gonna do it. So that we can start moving the guard immediately, and it won't fall too far behind the hero. And I'll just wait for next turn to queue up another unit. I want these to be as close as possible, so that they can reinforce each other. And now with these two units, you basically have a full stack that's so much stronger than when we only had like 4 or 5 units. Every single unit that we can get into the army makes a huge difference. You have seen that in this fight, where with 4 units we were in so much trouble, and with 5 units it actually wasn't that difficult to win the fight. And the 6th unit also makes a huge difference. But well, I think now we are done explaining all of the basic mechanics. From now on, we'll be able to just focus on the gameplay. So I think it's time to make a cut here. It was a little bit more tutorial than I wanted this episode to be, but hey, as I say, it's a first episode, first series of a new game, so maybe it's not a bad thing. And as I said, from now on, we can just focus on the gameplay, because I think I explained basically all of the mechanics. Now it's just about figuring out how to maximize what we can get out of them, and learning how to maximize it. So I hope that you like this episode. I hope that you're going to join me for the next one again. And until then, have a good time. Bye bye.